From each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are. From memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried. And with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight. Reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. And can you believe it? We've made it to episode 4. Only lots more to go. Like, keep going up from here. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following. Thank you for letting your friends know. And yeah, just thank you for being part of the magic and believing in all things Disney with us. And today's film is a little bit different. It's a little bit different than we even thought so. But from June 20th, 1941, the fourth movie released under the Disney feature film umbrella is The Reluctant Dragon. So tell me, KJ, what are your thoughts and what is the synopsis of The Reluctant Dragon?
So, I'm just going to say I've never watched this before, and this was my first time watching it. And from the cover, the movie cover that you see here, it's animated, so I just assumed it was going to be like an animated film like all the others that we have seen thus far, which it was nothing like what I had in picture. So, just a deep dive into the plot here is humorist Robert Benchley learns about the animation process at Walt Disney Studios while trying to find the great man himself to pitch him the idea of making a cartoon about a shy dragon. I'm just going to say that if you've watched this, you might also disagree with me, because it says he's trying to find the great man himself. I swear he was avoiding this movie.
It's true. It's true. He was avoiding. He was avoiding Mr. Disney.
There you go.
So I'm impressed by this movie. It is not what you think it is. No. It is not, even when you turn it on, it's not what you think of it. And it's not a movie that you remember, but it is so cool to see the inner workings of how they are making future movies. Clearly, that's what they were going for. Mr. Benchley is just a bookmark in his very inappropriate self, but he is avoiding Mr. Disney. But they show some really cool stuff. I'm probably going to use the word cool a lot in this. But yeah, as far as the plot, his wife convinces him to while he's shooting arrows at her in the pool, convinces him to pitch the story of the Reluctant Dragon to Mr. Disney, and he goes to the Disney Studios, thinks he's not going to make it in, gets in with the tour guide, and then just starts hiding in different departments, and you get to see the cool stuff of how each of these departments is made, or the inner workings of everything, which is awesome to me. One little thing before we dive in that I thought was pretty funny. This is a look into of how animation was made. Yeah, ironically, it was released during the Disney employee strike. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the first movie on our list with live people. Definitely not what I expected going into it. I was very confused when it started. Like you said, it starts at Disney Studios for an appointment with Mr. Disney himself.
So yeah, he does not believe he can get in, and then Mr. Benchley ends up getting let in, and his wife just leaves him there.
Yeah.
And they go on an adventure, and probably, I would say, we're probably going to jump around a lot during our little covering of this, because it's just he's going in different rooms, he's meeting different people,
Yeah.
Something I do think is really cool that I will touch up on later. It starts off on black and white, and then when they get into the Technicolor room, it becomes color, kind of like the famous scene from The Wizard of Oz many years before.
Yep.
So anything you would like to touch on before we keep diving there?
Well, there's like, I guess, little Easter eggs like in the movie,
yeah.
which I thought was really cool. Like in one of the scenes, you can see drawings of Bambi and Dumbo on the walls in the background, obviously, because you're at the Disney Studios where they're like working on these things. So, you get to kind of see that. That was pretty cool, and like each room that he kind of goes into is like a different area of the studios, and they kind of like walk him through the process of it, but kind of like still immerse you in something that's entertaining.
Yeah, so
that was nice.
So he gets, you know, they give him a tour guide, a very Boy Scout like tour guide that he likes to hide from.
And this tour guide's not happy.
No, he's not pleased. He has a job to do and he wants to do it. But it does bring you on an easy flowing tour of the studios, which is wonderful. And we have this Walt Disney Studios light right here next to KJ. So one of the first rooms that he does go into, he thinks that he's sneaking in to see a female model. Very inappropriately trying to find this female model. And they do a good job of masking what this model is. It's, of course, an elephant. A very large elephant. And they're using it as a model to draw for Dumbo. That whether it's Mrs. Jumbo, next time to see. Anything you'd like to add about that room before we keep going? Or
he made fun of the elephant and how easy it would be to draw the elephant, and he was watching one of the people draw their version of the elephant because everybody's depiction of this elephant was different, and I thought it was funny because the lady made the elephant look like him.
Yeah. There's also a very not culturally appropriate scene, part of the scene. Again, watch the movie. We don't have to talk about them making fun of different. It was the times. There was a double picture on the wall, like we said. That is the next movie.
And Bambi.
Yep,
Bambi's
coming up, but Dumbo was in this scene right here because it is the next movie. Again, I don't remember exactly what room they went into next, but I know one of the next rooms they went into was they were doing audio and they were doing voices. They have about the voice of Donald. Donald's not my favorite. We'll touch on that coming up. Donald's also very inappropriate, which fits in really well with Mr. Benchley. But listening to the scene of Donald's mastering Donald's voice is awesome. They also are doing recording for Casey Jr.
Yeah,
which is more Dumbo. Anything in that room?
In that room, I did not like the Chicken Lady and the Duck Man with the orchestra. I just wasn't a fan of it. I didn't think it matched well.
I can do that.
Yeah, I did enjoy listening to Donald's voice and like how the guy like came up with how Donald sounded. Like I love Donald. He's probably my favorite of the original. But yeah, I mean,
something else that happened in this room. Because they were filming for Dumbo, obviously, and in the Casey Jr. scene, it is just a simulation, but we are now 4 for 4 movies with the storm scene because it is raining when Casey Jr.'s come down the track. So I may use that exact scene in the next movie too. But hey, we're 4 for 4. Yeah. Again, we go into the Technicolor room next, where we become in color, like we were saying. Anything that you would touch on in the Technicolor room?
Yeah, I mean, so. Obviously, if you've seen The Wizard of Oz and just seeing the black and white change to the color was pretty cool. So I mean, it had the same effect here. Obviously.
I have a Wizard of Oz tattoo. Like it means a lot to me.
So yeah, that was pretty cool, and just seeing the things behind the scenes, like how they did it there. And I'm sure they probably do some of it the same.
Yeah.
I'm sure that some of it's like obviously updated and changed now, but it was definitely cool to see like behind the scenes of like how they did it and like how much goes into everything. And I kind of felt like they were ahead of their time.
I mean, that's what
the things they were doing.
What set the company apart.
Yeah, so I mean, it was definitely neat to see that. The
Mhm.
Technicolor was cool, and then the Rainbow Room.
I mean, I'm not getting ahead of ourselves because
Yeah.
it's many years and many years ahead. But we just went to go see a brand new Disney movie in theaters last week,
Mhm.
and they probably used some of the exact same things
Yeah,
80 years later, 85 years later. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Um, Something that I thought was cool is that they refer to the multiplex camera that we talked about
Hmm.
for Snow White. They show the process of filming cartoon motion of Donald.
Hmm.
It was cool. They're painting Bambi. Bambi, like you said, they're painting Bambi. There's a lot of upcoming. I never write them all down, but there's a lot of upcoming characters in the figurine form in that room when they're like
Hmm.
modeling and stuff. Anything else you'd like to say in the color room?
Um, is that the room with the figure that he stole?
Probably.
And I think it was like I think it was a zebra centaur. So it looked like a centaur, one of the centaurettes from Fantasia, but this one was a zebra.
So my next notes, I don't know what room it is in, but I wrote down that Mr. Benchley is very inappropriate for ladies. So that happens somewhere.
Yeah, kind of like Donald.
Yeah, we will touch base on
Donald,
we
but
will touch base on how I feel about Mr. Duck.
maybe that's who Donald was going on.
Maybe. So then we went to the sound effect room. They are smoking cigarettes in the sound effect room. I know smoking cigarettes was a big thing in the Walt Disney
Yeah.
studios, of what I hear at least. But yep.
Yeah.
So talk about a different time. Anything in this sound effect room before we talk about our friend Baby Weems?
Um, I thought it was cool to see how they came up with all the different sounds. I don't know, was it a point for thing? Like not things that I would think would actually make the sound, but they work for the things that they're doing. Like what did they have to do to figure some of this stuff out?
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
amazing.
I don't know. It's kind of mind blowing, I guess. And then the device the girl uses to be like the train voice, that was kind of it was weird, but it was cool. I guess like how did they invent this? I don't know. Like I
Especially
said,
40.
it kind of it's all above my head. So and I did the whole time I was watching it kind of think like it was way ahead of its time for the year that it was. Like I was kind of blown away. I was impressed by it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So then we meet then we meet the famous Baby Weems. And so
That is on the cover. And Baby Weems on the cover, do you notice it looks like he has a black eye?
no,
To me,
oh yeah, he does sort of look like.
I don't think he's supposed to.
So Baby Weems, so we start off by we're showing the storyboard, which I thought was awesome.
Mhm.
Baby Weems is a very gifted baby.
Yeah.
He a couple notes on it. Everybody loves him.
Mhm.
He is the top of the top.
Yep.
He debunks Einstein's theories. He becomes a composer. I wrote that he could have saved Fantasia. Just kidding. But just so many, and then as he becomes a normal baby, people lose their love for him. But
But
it is cute. Go ahead.
one of the things that I thought was creepy about Baby Weems, other than the fact that he was like a genius baby,
And his parents just wanted to see him.
yeah, his hair was just giving off Pennywise vibes the entire time. All I could think of was Pennywise.
But yeah, his poor parents were so excited when he became a normal baby again because that's all they wanted was their baby. But the world loved Baby Weems.
Yeah.
Then we moved on to the Goofy riding the horse.
And you get your storybook moment. So once again, like we open up a storybook.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, not like classically like the other
Yeah.
ones, but like you're brought into like a storybook when they're talking about the Goofy animation story.
So this is our first time meeting Goofy.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, and you might say this, I'm going to steal this from you, but the big plot point of this is that man is the master of riding. This is the show. This is the depiction of how man is the master of riding. So of course it's depicted by Goofy the dog riding.
You didn't feel that.
Oh, okay. Also, they say that Goofy's riding coat only cost $4.98 in 1941. In today's money, that'd be $106.24. That's expensive riding coat. $106.24.
If you, I don't know, if you're any kind of equestrian, I feel like that's not a cheap sport to be.
Yeah,
in,
I don't know. I mean, Goofy the horse or Goofy the dog can do it.
so.
So speaking of dogs, they also show how to the drawing and voicing of Pluto. There's also something that we meet our friend Pluto. You have seen our Pluto, Miss Faye, a few times already in this podcast. She likes to hang out. She loves Disney too. Anything on that before we dive into when we see Mr. Walt Disney himself?
I had, did we see Walt Disney before we saw Sir Giles?
Yeah. No. Walt Disney first.
Did we?
I got Giles come down here.
So, I guess not.
So we meet Walt Disney, and something that's cool is because that's the kind of person I am, have done my own deep dives into what Disney's office looked like, Disney's stuff like that. You know, it's still exactly the same as it was back then, and it's just cool to see inside of that. They are smoking inside of his office because hey, it was the times.
Mhm.
But so the whole point of the journey was to finally meet Mr. Disney, and the Boy Scout himself finally got Mr. Benchley into Walt Disney's office. And of course, Mr. Disney was excited to show Mr. Benchley his new feature, which of course was exactly the film that Mr. Benchley was trying to show him. So of course, after all of that journey, the Legend Dragon was already made.
Mhm.
So here's where we meet the dragon and Mr. Giles and all that stuff. The dragon has quite the voice. I don't remember his voice. It was very not what you would expect this lovely dragon's voice to look like. It sounded like.
No.
But you wrote down Mr. Giles. What do you got about him?
He had a monocle.
His monocle kept changing size too.
Like, you would be watching it in one scene and like it would be like this eye, and then all of a sudden it would just like switch over to the eye. And it didn't like it just kept switching. It's like, okay, which eye do you actually need that for, sir?
So obviously the dragon is shy, and they're trying to prove that they could beat the dragon. It's a cute culmination to the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did write down though, that they are having a picnic for the dragon, and he eats an apple. So we also put 4 movies on Disney apples. They called him a punk poet, which I thought was a good band name actually, Punk Poet.
Yeah.
And I also wrote down that the reluctant dragon, has eyelashes almost as nice as Cleopatra's.
Yeah.
So anything else on the movie in general, or even on that short right there? Yeah.
Not so much. So it actually costed more than it brought back in. I did see that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So they kind of considered it like a flop in the box office. So it cost much to definitely make. But I thought it was cool that it would have the live action with the animation, which is kind of a recurring thing going forward for the next few.
It was definitely different, and you know what? It was enjoyable. I wrote it. It was a surprisingly enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
It was not. You're not going to bring your kids to the theater to go see this movie.
Yeah, and like you said, the strike was going on.
Correct.
And apparently, I did read that the strikers actually picketed the premiere.
Oh, imagine.
So I mean,
they're probably in the movie and they picketed the premiere. So it was a different movie, but you got to take chances. And whether it was a flop or not, I enjoyed it. Anything you'd like to add before we do our lovely list upon a star over here?
Like I said, it definitely wasn't something that going into it, that's what I thought it was going to be. It was definitely a good movie. Just for the way that they kind of showed you behind the scenes, this is how it was made. Yeah. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10? What did IMDb give it?
6.7 out of 10.
Ooh, you're almost there. Yeah, I think 6 is a good choice because it was
Yeah.
neat. Like the best way to describe it is it was neat.
Mhm.
It's you're not gonna watch it weekly.
Yeah.
You're not gonna talk about it in a year from now.
It's probably not going to be your favorite.
But it was neat. It was cool. It was. I'm happy we watched it.
Yeah.
It's on Disney Plus, so it's easy. It's accessible.
Mhm.
It is the first non-animated movie that we've watched on our journey. So
Mhm.
speaking of our journey, we have a top 4 list to discuss, my friend.
All right.
So would you please put it where you're gonna put it and read me your top 4 list for our audio listeners? What do we got?
All right, so I have Fantasia in at number 1, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs for number 2, The Reluctant Dragon number 2, and then Little Pinocchio number 4.
So I am also sliding this in at number 3,
Okay.
and
Oh, poor Fantasia.
I'm also sliding this in at number 3, and I would like to read, and just to show how opposite this is. Again, we've watched 4 movies. My top 4 list is Pinocchio, which is KJ's number 4. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which is both of our 2 staple. And then I have The Reluctant Dragon, followed by Fantasia. Things are going to change, though, because next week is Dumbo, like we said earlier. And, that's a heavy hitter. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with us. Tell your friends, subscribe, email, follow along. Let us know how we are doing, how we could do better, or how much you loved this movie. I'd also like to take a second before we end to give our thank yous to Mr. Andy Has a Band for our theme song. I am wearing an Andy Has a Band shirt right now for the man himself. Thank you for taking the time and the effort to contribute to the magic. And again, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for putting up with us. And we'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks for deep diving magic. Bye.